Oh yeah, good morning, Cornbread Man morning show with the Cornbread Man, Dave in the AM here, coming live from the Cornbread Nation studios early on a Tuesday morning, December 23rd, just a couple days before Christmas. Your shopping time is getting near to being over, and hopefully you are done. I actually have to go out some today and also deliver a granddaughter to see family. So I'll be out and about some today. Tonight is the Southern Claus and Paul's Pet Show with Miss Janet the Cat Lady at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is on tap for tonight, as well as the Southern Fried Soundstage Part 3, Def Leppard, Hysteria. We will cover all things hysteria, my recollections and memories of things about that time frame. Very kind of, I might say, magical time for me. It was always loved music, and we kind of left off right there, end of dealing with some tragedies. We'll pick that back up, and we'll continue the story. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year as well as we draw closer to that. It's hard to believe we're really almost in to 2026. It just seems like it takes a while. The next thing you know, it's right on top of you, and you're ready for a new year. And that just blows my mind. And all things 2026, we have so many things on tap for the new year, personally, professionally, and podcast, whatever. There's a lot of things going on. Good morning to Podbean as well. It's live today. Some days we can't do that because of the way we have to tie everything together with guests in studio. But today, we do upload everything to Podbean. But today, Podbean is live and is a great resource. We are actually affiliate of Podbean. I've got to get the QR code back up. That's one of the things I need to get back up because you can become a podcaster, get your first month free on the Southern Fried. Good morning, Broski. I hope you're doing well. Appreciate everybody that stopped by and tuned in last night for our interview with Miss Mary Fagan Keene. Fascinating interview, very emotional. I was me and Paul Biscuit Boy had a probably a 30-minute talk afterwards. We talked a little bit about the rest of the week and plans for shows that we do together and a trip we're going to take actually to the grave day after Christmas is the plan for that. But we spent a lot of time just unwinding. It's a hard one for me to do because of people that I know and not murders, but people that have been done wrong, and their lives just a wreck. Uh, uh, the trauma and my heart really goes out to her family, Miss Mary Fagan Keene, and this trauma upon her family and how they are victims as well because they way they've talked about treated. But she's an amazing person, and I just greatly inspired by her, and I look forward to a long and fruitful relationship with her. She'll be back on, and she's just amazing. Yeah, over a century later, the fight goes on. I mean, couldn't phrase it any better. And if you couldn't feel that and see that in her, and she was trying to apologize, and I'm thinking, I feel like apologizing because I feel like you feel bad about it because you don't want somebody to have to walk through that, but to tell the story, you have to. And I was thinking as we were doing the podcast, how many times she does that. She does a lot of MP3 podcasts. We're the only. This is amazing to me. I still cannot even wrap my mind around the fact that we are the only podcast in the state of Georgia that has ever contacted her. I can't even imagine. I wouldn't even know the number of podcasts. There are many. There's a number of podcasts within the state of Georgia, obviously. I mean, lots of people podcast and some big ones. I mean, some big ones. We're tiny, but there's some big ones. Thankful for what we are, but the fact that we are the only one, she told me that when we very first talked. That's why she asked again, "Are you state of Georgia?" And because she knows that we were close down here, and I verified after the show. I was, just I want to make sure I was factual on that, and hopefully that will change. We don't want to be that. We want this story to get out, and right here in the state where the fight is going on, that absolutely needs to happen, and I'm going to help it happen. I'm going to contact others that are situated within the state, and not only Georgia, but others that I know, and get them on, get them to bring her on, because what a wealth of information, and how she's able to, through her dad and everyone, reach back into history like that, and the collection that she has, the books that she, it's very rare to find someone who started studying that young. Usually people say, man, I wish I'd did my genealogy, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago. That's why I tell young people, if your grandparents are alive, your great grandparents, you got to talk to those folks. You need to, get you need to record them. You need to get all the first, all the source information that they have, the oral histories. Even if there's something slightly different, you're going to get treasure trove of information. Get their historical things, the stuff that they have tucked away, keepsakes, whatever, and just be a sponge and soak up everything they have to say. And that will help you in your quest to know your family history. And for them, that was incredible. There's things that she can tell and did tell that nobody would know, because that's personal in their family. The emotional impact, the conversations, amazing. The conversation that they had with one of the gentlemen that was, in a witness in the trial and accused at one point, and that they met. I tell you, it really was very moving. I just had to take some time last night and unwind, and I don't know that I really ever did. It takes me a long time to really, in my mind, just analyze kind of what happened. And that was just, we just sat here and when we shared stories, and for Paul, Biscuit Boy, to share his own emotional, we talked about that too. I didn't know that. And the fact that he shared that, and God bless him. And he said, well, it doesn't affect me like that anymore. But he told me stories after the show of a very powerful, very, very powerful story. So like I said, it's a greater story, absolutely, but it is a singular story to them. And I didn't want to take it too much further than that, other than to recognize it does affect a lot of people. And in the South, it's a deep, dark secret. I've been, talking about that for a long time. And I've said it in my role as a pastor, in my role as someone, I'm not a trained professional counselor. I tell people that I'm not been to school and I'm not trained, but anybody can listen. Anybody can be a listening ear to say, I care, I'm sorry, and help them spiritually in the word. But I can tell you that everybody that's ever came to me and needed some sort of help, just to kind of get to the root of the problem of what's holding you back. Why's the problems? Why are you? It always went back to that, always. And unfortunately, in this case, it became not only that but a murder. The sexual damage to this young lady. And I mean, I'm not. I was just at a couple of points. I was thinking, this may be difficult for her to move on, but she's a strong lady, because it's so moving in her family. And man, I'm telling you what, I admire her ability to organize, to put together stuff, to make sure that it is there, as she said, for the next 200 years. That doing her part, and then her family will make it go the next 200 years, and that those members will. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. It was just an amazing moment last night as we shared that. So I will be re-airing that. The miracle is, to this point, we haven't been banished for a week on one or two other channels. There was definitely, we were dancing all over that, because, and that's unfortunate. And I didn't make it Rumble only. I wanted it to be as far reaching as it was. I didn't reattach the Instagram last night because it doesn't store it there anyway. But we didn't have a lot of people watching there. But we did have one. But when I said that last night, I'm not kidding you. Uh, I have not had that happen in over a year that it disconnected us from a live stream. That used to be regular. Like when you first start, it's almost like they make you pay your dues or something. Good morning there, Tanya Koopa. How you doing this morning? Merry Christmas. But it disconnected us from Instagram, and I'm looking up. I'm like, I can't believe this. But then I'm like, it's not a coincidence to me. I don't believe it on that one because that was right in the crux of the interview, right? I mean, right in the heart of what we were talking about. I mean, in the very center of that. And she was really laying it down, and bam, it popped up. And I went, oh, that's obvious what happened there. Miss Tanya, where are you coming from in the world? We hope you're having a great morning 2 days before Christmas, and I hope you're having a great day. We got the coffee going. Oh, that is so good. That was actually my first sip. Good morning to you. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It is a blessing to be alive. God is good, and He woke me up again this morning. My family is resting this morning. I am up early, and looking forward to a good day. Thankful for the day I have. Thankful that I'm not laying in a hospital bed somewhere. Thankful that I have my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I'm thankful I have great friends in life and through the podcast, and a wonderful family. And my wife's health has been a struggle lately, and she's able to still say with a struggle, I love you. That is a blessing. As me and my son helped her into bed last night, and she said those wonderful words, I love you. And it doesn't sound that way because she has troubled her speech, but we talk a language that we can understand. She does get most of it out, but some of it you have to kind of know where she's going with that. And I said, I love you too. How do you do? But she, having those in my life, my grandchildren, to be living in a great country, even with all the problems, it's a great country. We are so blessed. I'm a very patriotic person. I recognize the problems. I don't stick my head in the sand, but I am thankful for where I'm at, and life is precious. And the fact that I have an opportunity, because we're not there yet, to be able to celebrate another Christmas. And you think of all the Christmases past with your family, all when you were a kid, all the way up. And I think of all the people that are not here anymore. They've went on, and I miss them, and not able to have them in my Christmas celebration. But I'm at the same time thankful for those that still are. And I think over the past year, there's a couple of gentlemen who very easily could have not been here that are friends of mine. They went through health issues. Thank you, broski. I will say, a couple of months ago, maybe even 3 months ago, I guess it would be more like 3 or 4 months ago, actually, to say that I was in the middle of the fire, and on some days I didn't know if I was coming or going, coming to the podcast. I was running on fumes, man. I was, without a doubt. There was a lot of things going on. We're kind of really stable right now. As I told Paul here recently, I said, I got my mojo back. I work a lot. I got to where it was just, struggle. It was nothing wrong other than I think it just mentally drained me, emotionally drained me, or whatever. And Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so much. I should pop these up. And thanks for popping in. Our blessing coming in here, and appreciate all of you for popping in this morning. You're a blessing. But I just, I said, I was telling Paul last night, I said, I am so thankful for you co-hosts, because really you kept me kind of centered, and, just the people that are friends online, because it's like, in one way the passion's always been there to go online and do a podcast, and another way it was very hard. It was very much a struggle. There are moments, days that I went to hit to start the stream, and I would be like, oh, can I do this? I just felt so drained with everything that was going on. Getting calls during the podcast, wondering if the next call I get was an emergency. There were times I had to leave the podcast to go deal with some stuff. So that's true. I know, and I do realize that, and I do have that energy, man. I am back to doing longer podcasts. When I'm at my top, I just lose track of time. I just do it. Uh, I'm like an Energizer bunny in that way. I just keep going, and I love it. And I have to really tear myself away. I do. I just like, last night I was thinking, man, I could do another one. No, I'm going to bed. I'm going to go up and spend some time with the family and go to sleep. But I told Paul last night to that point. It was very draining through the whole process, but I do have my mojo back. I'm good. I'm in a great spot. I am so excited for today, the future, and that doesn't even cross my mind anymore. It just took a lot, and again, there's nothing wrong, no problems. It's just whenever you go through stuff, you have to kind of get in a place back, because it was uncharted territory. We you work together for a lot, and it is hard. Thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. Give us a like and a follow and share if you haven't done that. It's we appreciate it, and Merry Christmas to all of you. It is National Day. We talk about national days, and I do want to mention one. I don't. It's not a heavy one. I didn't think it would be getting close to Christmas, but talking about genealogy, it is National Roots Day, where you look up your family tree. So if you've never done that, if some of you are in the stream and you're very young, I would, for goodness sakes, get that information. If your grandparents are living or great grandparents or anything, get that information, record it down. You will want it later. And some people have no interest in looking at their family tree, but a lot of people regret that. They'll say, "Oh, my grandmother died 6 months ago, and I just started my family tree." Definitely go online and look at what some of your other extended family may have done with one of the genealogy sites that you can go to, and you'll find a wealth of information. Even go to your local library. There was a lady in my family who had done a lot of research. We had never met. I didn't even know she was the secretary at the local junior high school back in the day, because she had married, had a different last name. We just never picked up on the fact that we were related. And she would be a cousin to me. She had did 15 years of study, and I was able to talk to her before she passed, and she gave me information, a stack of stuff, as we say. But I had went to one of the local libraries, and they had a file on my family, and a lot of that stuff crossed over into my direct lineage. And I talked to her and her sister, and she told me stories about my grandfather, great grandfather, and all that I never knew. The family was, very close, kind of spreading out over the years. But she said we don't keep up like we used to. She was in her 70s then, but she gave me a lot of information. But do that now, National Roots Day. Find out, what who, what, when, where. Because in the South, especially, a lot of courthouses were burned down. Not everything is on microfilm, and you lose connection. You want to know who that great great grandfather was. You want to know who the brothers and sisters were, who the uncles and aunts and all that. And you start developing your family tree. And, I know it's controversial. Some people don't want to do it because they don't want to leave a marker, but some people do like to do DNA. I'm not even going to suggest you do it, because I know that people say, ain't no way I'm going to do that. But I know people have done it. But that's totally up to you. But there are, in our day, resources to do stuff. And one lady dispelled a family myth about one part of her family, they said, was from this particular line of people. And when the DNA said, no, absolutely not. Everything else was spot on. And you typically find that. You'll find one oral history. That's what Mary was talking about last night. There'll be this thing you're not sure, maybe not, because it's been passed down to you, but didn't do that. Okay, Brusky. Yeah. So it's an interesting. Also today is Festivus. Every year on December 23rd, Festivus commemorates a holiday episode of the television comedy Seinfeld. Oh, in the 1997 television comedy, brought Festivus to the masses when Frank Costanza, of course played by Jerry Stiller, explains he invented the holiday in response to commercialism of Christmas. Its slogan is "A Festivus for the rest of us." And they actually have that as one of the national days today. How interesting. I did not know that. Um, in 1783, on this date, George Washington stepped down, trying to find a man icon for Cornbread Man. Oh, I like that. Hello, Robert Torres. God bless you this morning. Merry Christmas. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. Best wishes for you and family this day. In 1823, St. Nicholas was published. How about this one? 1888, Van Gogh cuts off his ear. Cuts off the ear. Famous story. In 1954, while we do this all the time now, the first kidney transplant. I imagine that one didn't go, that was pretty rough. The early transplants were very hard. Absolutely. And one more for this day in history. In 1986, pilots Dick Rutan and Jenna Yeager landed the odd-looking experimental plane at Edwards Air Force Base in California, completing the first flight around the world without refueling. The trip took 9 days and 3 minutes and covered 25,000 miles. Amazing. That happened on this date in 1986. 1986 was also the birth year of my oldest son in August of that year. So a lot of things in 86 for me anyway. Okay, just a few days ago, we lost the race car driver, Greg Biffle, in an unfortunate his family plane crash. Today, as we continue to remember him, is the birthday for Greg Biffle. He didn't make it there. He was born in 1969 on this date, December 23rd. So obviously he died a few days ago due to the airplane crash. So let's remember his family today in our prayers. Eddie Vedder is 61 today, of course, of the rock band Pearl Jam. Alive, Jeremy, some of the songs. Are you a big Pearl Jam fan? Top music, and there are some Pearl Jam songs that I like. To say that I'm a big fan would not be true. It's not a slight. I just never did really listen to them that much, but I do know a handful of songs by them. Never saw them in concert, although I have watched some online concerts, portions of them for the band. But it is his birthday today. Movie actor Corey Haim, who passed away in 2010, also his birthday today. Interesting. These connections. There's only 365 of them, so you get a lot of them. Actress Susan Lucci, obviously soap opera queen. And I don't even watch soap operas, and I know who she is. She's 78 years old today. The founder, basically, of Mormonism, Joseph Smith, born on this date in 1805. Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, well, shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs today. Kirby Smart, who is 49 years old today, as they get ready for the next game in the college football playoff. We have that. The Hey Facts Porcupine podcast over on Podbean. Hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas to you. Yes, happy holidays. God bless you. Let's see if there's anybody else we want to recognize today. I just can't get into all the, even though I do podcasts, all the TikTok, stars or all that. I kind of skip over those. That's not to say I don't, nothing against them, but I don't recognize half of them. So, yes, New York City, sir. Harry Judd, drummer, 39 today. Naked Cowboys, 54. Crazy that I know who that is. Those are your birthdays today. Let me get your Bible verse today. Everybody needs a good start with the word. I probably should have started here. 1 John 1:7. But if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship one with another, and the blood of Jesus Christ, his son, cleanses us from all sin. I want to give a shout out today in a small city. I like to recognize little small cities, around the country. And this will be up your way, broski. The inspiration for the Andy Griffith Show, the fictional Mayberry, Mount Airy, North Carolina. I'm going to give a shout out to them today, a quaint town of Mount Airy. It is, they still have their Andy Griffith days and all that. I have never been. Me and my wife, and I thought about this here recently with her health issues. I thought, is there still a possibility I could get my wife up there without it being too hard of a ride for her? Now she would say, "Let's go." I can tell you, but I want her to get a little stronger. We had me and her mom. She's like a second mom to me. She's passed on. We had always planned to go up to Mount Airy. That's a trip we just never got to make. Things always got in the way, but I still would like to go. I've never been there. I've been close. I've been to some small cities, not probably within an hour away from Mount Airy, but I've never quite been in that area. So Broski, if you've ever been to Mount Airy, you can let us know. But Mount Airy, North Carolina, shout out to you this morning. They have a population of just under 11,000 there. So not the smallest of the small, but it's not a huge city at all. And you can go there, and they still keep some of the old restaurant names and store names from the TV show. Most of them have passed on, but I know still like Don Knotts' daughter, and there's a couple others that still go to the city when they have their Andy Griffith days or whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call that. And fans come from all over, and throughout the years, many of the people that was on the show would come back to the city and celebrate those things. I don't know. There's a lot of the cast, unfortunately, is not with us anymore. Of course, Ron Howard is still around, and there's a handful. There's a handful of them, but it is quickly the Dillards. I think most of them, if not all, are still living. Played with the Darlings there, the bluegrass band, actual band, but a lot of them have passed on, and that's just time. Time does it. Where are you broadcasting your talk? Okay, I'm in North Georgia, extreme Northwest Georgia. I am. Thank you for the like. I am outside of. I'm in Georgia, but I mean, I could just drive just a handful of miles. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so I'm right close to the state line. In fact, I could be at the state line from here if I was sitting in the car ready to go. In 3 minutes, probably I'd be at the state line, if according to traffic. Right now, it'd be light traffic. Probably, I'd probably be at within 4 minutes. We'll say, because we do have some morning traffic. I am really close to the Chickamauga National Battlefield. One of the, in fact, it is the oldest war between the states national park, established in 1890. What was that? 5 or 6? I think that's 6. Here, and I'm closer to that than I am the state line. So I go the other way in about 2 minutes without any traffic lights catching me, and I'm in the battlefield. So actually, where I live at was probably really a part of extended the battlefield. Supplies and everything for sure would have extended up this way. There would have been troops all over here, but that's where I'm broadcasting from the Cornbread Nation Studios, as we call it. Which is the studio behind my house, and that I come to broadcast on video and audio and just about every day. There are occasionally that I do not broadcast, but those are few and far between, and usually would be because I am sick or something. If you can't go, you can't go, and every once in a while you just need a day that you don't. I actually, though, what I want to do is have some programming recorded and I pop up something. I don't like to go a day without it. I like to keep our program going forward. In eventuality, actually, some of the co-hosts may do shows on their own. We definitely will develop that. It won't just always be me or me and them. It could be them as well. Paul is definitely could do that. He could do that from wherever, and we encourage that. And eventually, you'll see that. You'll see some of that, but I've got to train them. I've got them in the school of the technology, which I'm training both him and Dean to how to work the controls and everything. So that is an ongoing process. And if you've podcasted, of course, Facts Porcupine Podcast, you got to know what you're doing or things go haywire real quick. And even when you do, things still go haywire. You get all kinds of weird stuff that go on. I always say 30 seconds before a podcast starts and 30 to 30 seconds after is chaos. Someday you're like, okay, everything fired up. It's like the old days of of the tubes, the old hot, the tubes. You got to make sure everything heats up right. It feels like that sometimes. It's like, okay, the spinning thinking of I'm going online. It actually worked. This one worked. This one worked. This one worked. Because it's like a succession of as we tie these things together. Of course, I've done Podbean only. It's just one thing, and it works great. I've never actually had a problem out of Podbean, but thankfully. But some of the others have given me, some issues here and there. Nothing major, nothing like that. But I've definitely seen those mornings or afternoons or evenings where the podcast goes crazy. And sometimes it's so bad you just have to restart. I mean, you do the best you can, but it is what it is. We were in the show last night with Miss Mary and that amazing story of her family's history, and we were also doing sports and racing hour. So I missed, and I caught up after the show last night. I missed the announcement by the president, Pete Hegseth, and the admiral or whoever he was from the Navy. But things are heating up outside of Venezuela for the country. An announcement that a warship was going to join the quote Golden Fleet. News this morning is that president is saying it would be smart, quote unquote, for Venezuela's Maduro to step down. This is obviously the United States is in a position where that is their goal. That's going to happen, and so we're kind of in a standoff right here. But he is adding to the armaments in the region, and it looks as though we're going to be pressing really hard. The blockade is on. The air, they've blocked them from the air. They're blocking them from the sea. They're not going to let oil in and out, or especially oil out, I guess you would say. But they're playing tough with Maduro to get him out of the way. Hello, good morning there, Rare Days 2767. Good morning to you. God bless you and Merry Christmas to you and family, and also to anyone else that's listening and came in. But well, I guess you're cute, So if you want to do that, that's fine. But we can do that as well. So that's fine. Be ugly if you choose, and it make it very easy. I'm one of those guys that tries to be as soft as I can, and as long as someone wants to play nice, then I'll let their comments go. But when you get to a certain level, you just say goodbye and you go. So for them that didn't see that, I'm glad. So anyway, I always say this: they don't answer to me, but they do answer to God. But the question is how far do we go with this? And can pressure like this be enough to get Maduro to step down? I don't know. He seems to be that kind of guy that's willing to go down hard and be that martyr for his cause or whatever. And there'll be a lot of people who will enjoy his stance against the United States. I always remember this, and of course later on it cost him whatever you thought about him. Saddam Hussein. And I remember reading this from the first Gulf War when that's right. When we met them in the desert for the ceasefire, you remember that? Turn Venezuela into Gaza, broski. Whoa, boy, that would be. Then they'd have war crimes on the president. So but I don't know. I just wonder how much we're going to bomb. I think for sure we'll hit air defenses and military outposts and stuff like that. If this thing heats up, they'll start taking out naval people. That's what'll happen. We'll just have to see how far it goes. But I remember when Saddam Hussein, who did not go out in the desert for the surrender, to see, people said you should have went in, and we did later. He sent one of his commanders out to the desert to meet Schwarzkopf and all them in the tent in the desert. But he told the guy that went. He said this. He basically said, "I don't care what you agree to." I mean, he knew he was going to stay in control. He said, "I don't care what you agree to, but you will wear my guns on your side." He had 2 pearl-handled pistols. He looked, I guess, like Yosemite Sam. He had 2 pearl-handled pistols that these were Saddam Hussein's that he was going to put on. Everybody in the country knew whose pistols they were. And what he wanted was that was his defiance to show his country and the world that he was still standing. He said he didn't go. He sent his pistols. Amazing story. And that was a message to the people that I'm still in control. You better watch out. Just because we have lost militarily here, we've lost a lot of, a lot of tanks. We've lost a lot of, whatever. But that first go around when they had them, they had them. I think it was him. Maybe it was, but anyway, whoever, I don't remember who was that guy who went. I used to know it, could remember the name, but he went to the signing and he wore those pistols. And image is everything across the world. In some countries, the image of something, it is a silent reminder to the country that the brutality will continue. You better watch your mouth. And I'm down right now, but I will be strong because I'm still in power. So I will rebuild. And that was Saddam Hussein's message to his country by that very act, wearing those pistols into that meeting. It told his country, the regime, the dictatorship, this crime family. He looked at himself like a mafia don. That was his favorite movie to watch. Saddam Hussein's was The Godfather, and he loved to smoke the cigars and sit and watch that movie. It gave him he just loved that. Him and his sons ruling with an iron fist, taking out their enemies, stealing the left and right. There were stories that they would back up trucks to the banks and just unload. Baskets of cash, just fill it up. They stole from their own country as often as they could, as well as brutality to the people, killing of their people that oppose them, the obviously raping of women and everything else. They said in the country, the knock on the door, you always were afraid of that. Was that whenever you get somebody knock on your door, you were afraid that was that secret police basically that would come in and people were dragged away and never seen again in the country. So they still have a lot of mess in Iraq for sure, but it's not. They don't have that. So for that, they were happy that he was gone. But there's still a lot of factions there. But I will never forget, and they were dumb for doing it. And I've said this before. His son-in-laws, married to Saddam Hussein's daughters, they had spoke against him, and they went in exile. And I think they were even in Canada or something at one time. I can't remember where they were at. So Saddam, Mr. Mafia Don himself, he puts out the call. He says, "Come home, open arms. Come home. You are my son-in-laws. You're married to my daughters. All is forgiven. Please come home." And these idiots, they were close to him. They had to know how brutal he was. They buy it. Like they got, okay, well, we can go home. Stupid. He met them when the plane landed. He was at the airport. He met them with some of the biggest, baddest dudes you ever saw, who met them as they come into the hangar, and they put them in the center of the circle, and these big brutes just beat the crap out of them. They beat them within an inch of their life. Or maybe they beat them till they were dead, but I think they were still living. But either way, then they sent in the dogs, literally. They had these dogs. I know this is not really popular to say early in the morning, especially if you had your breakfast. So if you don't want to hear this, don't, cover your ears or turn the volume down. I won't stay on it, but this is absolutely what happened. They had these German shepherds. They starved to about the moment of death, and they unleashed these things on these men's bodies. And it is said that Saddam Hussein sat and watched this whole scene, smoking his big stogie, a smile on his face. And when they got done, I'll keep it as clean as I can. When they got done, it is said there was nothing left that would show there was anybody had been there. Just think of that. That's the brutality that was Saddam Hussein and his boys. What a couple of losers, Qusay and Uday, I think it was. And we remember the end for them, right? They're in the little blown out building, and the Marines are there, and they're telling them to come out, and they're basically giving them the middle finger and saying, blank you and all that. And so the Marines just, bring in and do a little bazooka strike or something in there and annihilate them, kill them. But that was, and of course, Saddam Hussein found in the hole. I always thought that was appropriate, that he was dug out of a hole, And listen, this ain't even about whether we should have been there or not. I'm not even that. But the world is a better place without that guy. Exactly, broski. Kind of like feeding them to the pigs. That's exactly what it was. Just fat. Nothing left. No evidence. I mean, of course, there would have been DNA or something on the ground, but they said there was no evidence of blood or anything. It was just gone. That's a sickening thought on this Tuesday morning before Christmas, but it's absolutely what happened. This was a violent regime. I mean, that's what they are. I mean, they're not the only one. There's a bunch of them there around the world. There's a bunch of evil places because they're led by evil people, and people live in fear every day that they're going to be their family. And you don't speak out because to do so is death. And I feel for people like that to have to live in that. And my gosh, we're so blessed to be an American. Yeah, we got a bunch of crap going on, and sometimes our government has, taken people's voices. Absolutely, and that's why we got to stand up against that and fight and root out that kind of, evil wherever it's at. We cannot allow and that's why an armed populace and all that is a defense against a regime or rogue leaders that go off the chain and don't follow the Constitution and take away people's rights. And let me say this: I don't care who the party is. I'm definitely conservative, but I'm a constitutionalist. Pardon me. And when I sometimes I have conservatives get mad at me. Sorry, coffee time. I have conservatives get mad at me. I don't want injustices done against the Constitution in the name of anything. I don't want conservative leaders to violate the sanctity of that document because it just as easily goes both ways, and you can, you lose your rights that way. We have to stand on those freedoms that are guaranteed to us by God and our own Constitution, and make that stand, and that keeps the freedom for all. And I may be really ticked off about some things that people do, but if it is a freedom they have, the only way to change that is through, obviously, sharing the gospel, teaching people the right and the wrong, they're nuts or whatever's wrong with them. But I don't like to see those things violated because the yin and the yang of it flows both ways. And wrong is wrong and right is right. And, I may not like some things that's going on in the country, but they have a protected right. That's a freedom they have. I mean, that's a moral issue. We got to work on morality for sure. But, people can, it can be used the wrong way in both ways, and we all lose. And I don't want to lose that. That is the amazing process that the early framers and founding fathers of our country, pretty amazing. And people nowadays, they want to go back and they want to malign them, they want to mock them, they want to say they were ignorant, which is ridiculous. They were not ignorant. And I don't even really like the argument of people want to argue whether they were believers, Christians or not, and they say all of them were not, and you support them. And I don't believe man is sinful. I'm not saying and would ever suggest that they weren't sinful men. It's almost like people look back in history and find something and go, aha, look, you're great George Washington, you're whoever. Well, nobody ever said they were perfect individuals, for we know they were not. Nobody is. There was only one that walked this earth, and Jesus in the flesh, God and man, who was ever perfect. That's the point. That's we understand that. But they also did great things. But for every person that does great things, there's a side of them that is sinful. And there may be some people that it's harder to find wrong within them. But every man has his faults. Every man, I say man in a general sense, mankind, everybody has skeletons in the closet. Everybody has something they need to seek forgiveness for. We've all fallen short. We've all made mistakes. And certainly Thomas Jefferson or George Washington or Benjamin Franklin or whoever, regardless of whatever their spiritual condition was between them and God, they still were sinners. I mean, they made mistakes. They weren't perfect men, but coming together, they did something that was truly great and beyond themselves that lasts until this day. And I'm not looking to go back and look for the skeletons. I'm not. I already know they're there. I mean, these men Oh my gosh, you mean they cursed? Well, certainly they cursed. You know, did they, did they have, sex outside of marriage? Well, certainly they did. Did they? Some of them were slaveholders. Yes, they were. It was very common in the time, and we look at that now and we are abhorred at that. Well, sure we are. It was wrong. But God can still use men to do great things that still have, things that they shouldn't have done. When you look at military heroes, if that's the word, I don't like to use the word hero too much because it gets overused. But men who did things great militarily for this country, when you look at them, you're going to find ugly stuff too. I mean, for the greatness they were in battle, they've got a bad side. For all the ones that were statesmen who did great things in government, and they are people that have done amazing things and changing things for our country to do better, but they still had bad sides. If you look at every president that's ever been, you're going to find things you like, you're going to find things you don't like. Some where the scale is really askew, some might say did a lot of bad versus very little good, but everybody has something that I could go, hey, I can get on board with that. That was a good decision. I'm glad they signed this into law, or whatever it was that they did, or even the first ladies, things that they did to help along the way, and causes that they were. I could appreciate things that they were a part of and say, I applaud that. But at the same time, there's some other things I don't like. But that's man. We don't look back and go, oh, you act like they're poo don't stink, I guess is the way a lot of people would say it. No, we understand that, but we look at what they did, not some good that they did that was beyond themselves. And certainly the early framers of our nation were they were very smart and it was a struggle. It was not easy. It was an argument. If we think those men didn't argue, it was bitter arguments. In fact, when when Benjamin Franklin, a very aged Benjamin Franklin, called for prayer, and everybody jumps on Benjamin Franklin as a guy who's not a believer, and nobody ever suggested he was. But this same man believed that men who studied the Bible were better men. He did understand that. I don't know where he stood with God because I'm not God. I'm not even going to try to decide. All these supposed experts that look back and decide who was and who wasn't a true believer in God or in His Son Jesus Christ. I'm not the expert there, and I would suggest to you that nobody is. Only that person and God knows where they stand. But we can say, okay, they went to this church, they studied this, they said this, or they said I don't believe. We could take their statements certainly and understand that they were at least said from the mouth that they were or they were not. Certainly that's a part of the story. But nobody truly knows, and nobody truly knows if me or you are, but God. You don't know my heart. I can say all day I'm this or that or whatever. We see evidences of it by the way people act, how they live their life, but only God knows. And so I can't sit here today and say where Benjamin Franklin was or was not a Christian. And I really, the decision is over. I mean, it's too late now to change any of it. Whatever he was, however that tree fell, that's what he was. But God used him in a great way. We can say that. And when he stood as a very sickly aged man, I want to think he was 86 years old. I'm pulling it off the top of my head. I could be wrong. And he suggested that they needed to go into prayer. One of the greatest moments of history for our country. These men were bitterly at odds. They could not agree. It was getting ugly. They were getting no closer to having anything decided to put on paper, on the parchment, on these bedrock documents. They couldn't get there. And they went into, I think it was 3 days of prayer. And it absolutely started changing the course of the meetings after that. One of the most wisest and greatest moments of our history as a country was when this man, who they say, well, he wasn't even a Christian, he did say something very wise. And so was he a perfect man? Certainly not, because no man is. Was he a man that did some amazing things in his life for the country? Absolutely. So I can look back, and all these people today that want to go back and they want to shred the George Washingtons, the Thomas Jeffersons, the John Quincy Adams, and all these different people. Shame on them. I mean, yeah. Well, let's go into those people's lives and let's look at what they've done. How good are you? That's the question. How good are you? How good am I? Not very good, because the Bible says there is none that doeth good. I mean, we've done no good. Our righteousness is as filthy rags. Okay, so none of us deserve the pedestal, and I think it's a disservice to put back and as a man put these men on pedestals, because that's not where they desire to be, and it's not even right to do that. We should never lift up man. We should always glorify and lift up God, because He deserves that. But what we can do is recognize things that they did, and so as a citizen of these United States, I am thankful that there was a George Washington, who, by the way, could have easily become a dictator. This guy could have been president until he was dead. He decided to step aside, let someone else lead. He could have at one time, he was so popular, he could have taken the military and just taken over. So let's look at some things that he did that were truly amazing. Let's look at, the writings of these men. I mentioned Thomas Jefferson a lot because his name comes up a lot. And, even personal letters that they take things out of context that he wrote about, including the separation of church and state and how that's misunderstood. And still we argue over those things, and we'll continue to argue over them. But we should look back and say, okay, I may not like some actions that some presidents took, but I can also look and see some things that they did that I go, well, that was a good decision. Whether it was their decision or not, they signed off on it. The same will be said about Donald Trump. There's going to be, the history will decide what he is or what he isn't. Or things he did that were really good, things he did that were not good. And that is every president, and that is every man. So there's people, every president, there's the people that hate them or love them on either side of the aisle. I'm not here to put President Trump on a pedestal ever. But I'm also here to say, and I will be honest and say there are things he does that I've not cared for. But he is my president, and I do pray for every president. And that's absolutely true. I prayed for President Biden, President Bush, President Obama, President Clinton, President Reagan, as long as I've been alive. And I believe that, that is biblical to pray for leaders, your leaders. I pray for the people that run my business. I want it to be a good, prosperous business. These men have major decisions to make. I've met just about all of them at one time or another. I can imagine the pressure they have to lead our company. The pressure upon, commissioners, local commissioners, school boards, state senators, representatives, and on down the line to the U.S. Congress. It's very hard. Some do, I think, really good jobs. Some do really bad. And that's just the way it goes. We're not going to find a perfect politician. We're not going to find a perfect person outside of Jesus Christ. So I do really appreciate the work that they do. So when I look back, I look back with the lens of learning. It's like your family tree. We started out talking about that. Your family tree, yeah, you're going to find somebody that stole a horse. You're going to find somebody that spent some nights in the drunk tank. You're going to find somebody that got in trouble with the law. You're also going to find some people that did pretty amazing things. And, that's your family, because we are an imperfect people. And so for the guy that stole the horse, I hope he didn't get hung. If he did, okay, there was on the books, you could do that at one time. You're going to look back and you're going to see things that you're like, ooh, that's rough. We can't change it. We didn't do it. They did it. But we're also going to look back in time. We're going to see some things. We're going, wow, my uncle, great grandfather, or somebody, or aunt, or whoever it was. This is pretty amazing that they did this. We are not to put them on a pedestal. We're to recognize that they did something that was really amazing. And it makes it even more special when it's our direct blood kin, like that's your direct line. Your great grandfather did something. What kills me is when people, they look back through their family tree, they try to get, let's say that George Washington is in your family tree somewhere, multi times removed. It doesn't mean that we did anything great. Okay? just because my great great grandfather did something pretty amazing, it's nice, and I can appreciate that, but it doesn't put me in heaven. Just, if I did something bad, it doesn't put me in hell. It's history. We take it for what it is: the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's all there. And it's in everybody's family. And when you look back far enough, you'll find all of that. You're going to find somebody who I've helped people do genealogy, and I remember I have found some things that were, very very cool. Like you would say, you go back to them, and I'd say, check this out, and then I'd say, but I also found this. They would go, wow. And sometimes they would even say, well, there's a little family secret that this was always said that this thing happened, but nobody ever talks about it. Much like our guest last night, Mary Fagan, and the families didn't want to talk about that tragedy. And none of the families direct in line with any of that history. We were talking about the killing of Mary Fagan, little Mary Fagan here in Georgia 112 years ago, or whatever that was. I think it was now. There was silence on all sides. We look back with the history now to tell the story, and I'm not involved, but it definitely is a touching story. Uh, Broski says that's why I don't like when Christians tell people they're saved. Nobody knows but God. So why do they say that it's just like a virtue signal? And it can be used in a wrong way. What I like to say is people have a testimony. Um, you know, if they, I think it's something to celebrate. If someone's made that decision, obviously, but it can be manipulated. Certainly, that's where works comes in. It doesn't guarantee it, but there are evidences you can see a change in someone. Something's happened. So, but it is a personal relationship. I don't know what is in anybody's heart. I don't know what really is buried within the recesses. Are they really repentant is the word over their life, their sins, or whatever, or are they playing a game? I knew a guy that went to church one time, even taught Sunday school. He was not a Christian, and the reason he went to Christian churches, and typically those were Baptist, and he told me himself, I'm not making up something. He told me with his own mouth that he went there to find girlfriends, to date someone, and to find a wife, because he said there was a lot of women that he found attractive in the church. And he got so far in, he wanted to become the girls he dated. They were looking for a godly man, so he played the part. And but at the end of his days, he was repentant because he got cancer. He recognized some things in his life. Again, he told me, he said, "I'm not going to talk about it, Dave, but he said I do want you to know. I want you to know because I know I believe you care." He said, everything is okay between me and God. No matter what happens here, he believed he was going to beat the cancer, but he knew it was bad. And he told me in a private one-on-one final meeting, I never got to talk to him again uh, in a coherent sense, because he was still coherent then. He said, I want you to know that. And he also apologized for some things that he had said and did towards me and my family. And it was very emotional. I'm glad we had that. Do I know that he really did that? I want to think that he did, but he said those words. He said, "I'm not going to talk about it. It's personal between me and God." And I said, "Yes, sir." I mean, you don't have to tell me. I'm not a. There's no mediator needed. Jesus is the mediator. I'm not here to that. It is not my business. So I don't try to get into a place that I am. So, but uh, see here, that's part of what makes, as Broski says, makes bringing down so difficult. You can't do the mudslinging thing to him, and that actually makes him more popular. Well, sure, yeah, we do that for sure. Nothing is more annoying than a slumpy walking up to you and asking you if you're saved. I don't know if you are, and I don't know if I am. I'd like to think both are, but it's not my call. I always encourage people to make that decision, to introduce the evidences in scripture. I think there's a lot of people trying to force someone into a decision. That's very bad. You can't do that. If someone truly wants to make a change in their life, we just give them we give them the opportunity for understanding, to share the scriptures, and but it's between them and God. And I always tell listen, as a pastor or as someone who has met people on the altar, this is what I tell them. Uh, I just want to be here to help you if you need something for understanding. If you need a little help or guidance, and because maybe they're not really even sure. I said, but what you do here is between you and God. I'm not here. It's none of my business. I'm not. I'm not here to. You're not answering to me. You're not sharing anything with me. I just want to quickly ask you if there's anything I can do to help you. And if they say no, then I say, okay, I'm away. But some people absolutely want that, and they say yes, sir, and we have a discussion and then prayer. And I tell them, you're praying to God, you're not praying to me, and get your. But I'm here to help you if there's something that you don't understand. I feel like once somebody's gotten up, they probably have already made a decision headed that way if they're going to come and pray at an altar. But I have helped some people in the altar in many different circumstances, and they appreciate the help. And again, but I'm very clear on that of what the role is. The role is to be a help. You're not praying to me. You don't tell me anything unless there's something you just want help with, and you're asking me to help you pray about it. Then I absolutely. And a lot of times you'll get that. They'll say, "Yes, I'm here because my son is on drugs." And would you please? I don't want to mention it to the church. It's something very personal, but I'm struggling with it. And would you help me pray for my son who's on drugs? Well, as someone who has had a son on drugs, I certainly understand that, and I appreciate it, the opportunity to help someone pray. And if somebody comes to me and says, I don't, this is between, I don't want you to tell anybody. I will go to the grave of those things. Those are sacred things. So I never use names. I just say situations. But certainly that's a great point. But yeah, pardon me, still battling some of these change of weather. By the way, it's nice and warm outside this morning versus what it's been. It feels so good out there in North Georgia. I don't know what the temperature is, but it feels great. And should be a pretty day. And I'm looking forward to, I'm not looking forward to getting out in the traffic, but I do got to go out and finish up some stuff. And I've got to carry the granddaughter up to see her family. She's going to stay a few days with mom and aunts. And she's got two younger brothers that she's going to go up and spend some time with. It's just one of those deals. She lives with us, and she's a blessing. She is 13 now, and we are very, very close. And when I celebrate Christmas, obviously I'm celebrating what it's about, the reason for the season, but it's also a joy to see that, and experience that through the eyes of a child. And I love that, And now that she's got the little dogs, we got the little dog celebrates as well, Don't forget tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Southern Claws and Paws, our pet show with Miss Jeneth, the cat lady, and we always talk about pet tips and stuff. Tonight we have pictures we're sharing of some horses of a friend of mine who has several horses and loves and sent me several and the names of those horses. And so if you would like to share your pet, you can send us an email to Southern Claws Paws, all one word, at gmail.com. Southern Claws Paws, that's CLAWS and PAWS, Southern, obvious what that is, Southern Claws Paws at gmail.com. Just give us a little info, the picture and their name. It doesn't matter. You can be in the picture or not. It doesn't matter. We will air those and share those. And we enjoy doing that. Or video. It doesn't have to be just a picture. It could be a short video of, your dog or cat or bird or whatever doing something that you think is precious and cute and whatever. And we look forward to that. Our programming this week is going to stay pretty close to schedule. Me and Paul Biscuit Boy will be on Christmas night. We talked about it last night. He said their big celebrations are Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. And Christmas evening, he said, I basically have nothing, so I'm good. So Wolf Nation will definitely air. And the plan is at this point the Cornbread Nation show is going to return. after a 3 week or month or whatever it is now absence. It will return. Cornbread Nation live here on the Cornbread Nation studios. Love that show. We're going to revamp just a little bit, change it up just a little bit, but it's still the basic structure is all the same. We're going to change a couple things because there is a change in the people involved. But Cornbread Nation is making its reappearance this week. And what a day to do it on. Christmas Day. I love it and look forward to that. But morning shows all week, definitely on tap. Night shows, definitely. We've got the music show again tonight. I'll be a little later, do the pet show, then be a break, and then we'll do the music show. We got the history show coming up this week. We're covering the Battle of Chickamauga, and I want to cover, this time I'm going to swing to the Union side, and we're going to talk about George Thomas, the Rock of Chickamauga. We'll kind of do a biographical sketch of him and his career and talk about his role at the Battle of Chickamauga and a person that was under his command, just recently passed, former Vice President Dick Cheney. His ancestor fought at that battle, and he came to the battlefield at least twice that I know of, under heavy guard, to walk the steps. See, no matter who you are, you want to look back in your family and look at genealogy. And he wanted to come see where that was, and no jokes or anything. It was a straight up, and people that I met said that he was very gracious and appreciative of. I know people actually was able to stand and give talks to him about that battle, and he appreciated it. So he was very supportive of what the units were doing, because we were portraying both sides in reenactments and stuff. Not really. You don't do reenactments on the battlefield, although there have been those that's been able to sleep on the battlefield and march there. They don't do battles, but I have been able to fire black powder. They don't do that much anymore. But I still remember the day when they would let us do living histories, and we did demonstrations of firing and marching on the battlefield. How cool was that? But there's a rule with the National Park Service, excuse me, that for every 10 guns, you had to have a ranger. So that makes it real difficult to have a very big group. So you could have, if you had 10 men that were firing, you could have more than that if they weren't firing, but if you had 10 men, and it was always men because that's what served, who fired, then you had to have a ranger for one to 10. Starting at 11, had to have another ranger. That gets real hard to do. So we tried to keep our living histories at about 10 guns. And but a lot of that, they do their own stuff now, their own living histories. I don't know if they even allow that anymore. When they do the reenactments, it's always in a nearby big farm within the area, and they will do the reenactment there because they're just not. And I get it. I don't think that you should come out and do that at that place. It's a sacred spot because men died there. And we should hold that. I don't mind the living histories, a little bit of marching and stuff. They have fired the cannons out there before. You could hear those roll, but for the big crowds and stuff, probably need to keep that somewhere else. But it is a fascinating thing to have been a part of. And for me, I was able to preach one time on a Sunday morning on the battlefield. That's cool beans right there. I loved it, and I had in my audience the historian who is still the lead historian for the battlefield. And he gave his sign off that it was fine, and he actually wanted to work together and read some of the sermons from the period at that time. We just never was able to get together, but it was an interesting discussion. I just didn't have the time in my life at that time to do it. But he was very supportive of it. He said I could make it happen, but oh well. Sometimes time and opportunity just doesn't cross, and it just was out of time, and it was a nice idea, but it was never going to happen at that time. So anyway, we're fixing to go off the air here in a few minutes. I'll stretch it forth a little bit. Normally we're off the air by 7, but I do want to wish everyone a wonderful day. I do have things I need to get done today too. Pray for us. We'll pray for you. If you have a prayer request, send those in as well. Also, we have another email is wolfnation26@yahoo.com, wolfnation26@yahoo.com. And You see our main email there, slppodcasting@gmail.com. That is it. So we have three emails that we have. We have one specifically for the pet show because you want to keep the pictures separate. We have the main email for most of the podcasts, which is, and I have a personal one as well. But you also have for Wolf Nation, which is its own entity, wolfnation26@yahoo.com. But you can use any of those to contact. And we had talked about going live from the bookstore this week due to travel celebrations. That's going to have to wait till right after the first of the year. We actually talked to them about it yesterday. It's not a problem. We're going to do it. We wanted to do it yesterday. Too much going on. Just was not going to work. We just didn't have. We ran out of time. So we are busy. We got things today that are going on. It's not going to allow it to happen. And then we get into Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. We're still going to broadcast, but they'll be closed. And then on the 26th, we're going to go down to Mary Fagan's grave. That's the plan. We hope everything nothing gets in the way. And we're going to do our laying of flowers and everything at the grave. And we'll do a couple of recordings there. We might go live. I don't know yet. We've talked about it just for a few minutes. And then on the way back, our plan is to stop at the story, the Corpsewood Manor place, deep in the heart of the woods. we have to hike in a little bit and do a little spot there right around dark. I don't know about that. We're going to try out a new headlamp that we have from a hiking place and see what we like about it and what we don't like about it. I need to get that charged up. I just got it in the mail yesterday. I think it was. We're going to test that out and give a review on it. That was part of the condition for us getting that sent to us for $0. And we're going to put it in the field and test it on that night. So we got to get it dark and we'll do a little bit of stuff from there. But have a blessed day. Get your shopping done early if you can. Be careful on the highway. Watch for the road rage. There's a lot of people getting road rage these days, and it'll be crazy. Try not to be that person that's impeding traffic. Oh, thank you for tuning in from on Podbean. Appreciate that. And from other places as well. We appreciate you being in the stream this morning over on Instagram. And we've got people here from certainly, I believe, Rumble. And we know Rumble because Broski's been there. And Facebook and YouTube have been in there. We know YouTube. We appreciate you folks coming in. Kick, Twitch, what I leave out? X, any of you are there from those locations. Thank you so much. I'm the Cornbread Man, and this is the Cornbread Nation Studios. And we will see you tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then a little later after that, the Southern Fried Soundstage, Def Leppard. Band it's still out there, still kicking it. And it's hard to believe how old Hysteria will be. And I have a lot of memories from that time frame, a lot of personal memories. We'll talk about band history around all that. We'll give you a little bit of my history with that. That was the first time that I saw the band, and that was the first of 15 times that I saw the band. I saw them several times on the Hysteria tour because it was a 15-month tour. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about what happened early on in the tour. Wasn't pretty. They were back, but it was struggle. And then what changed the course of the history for that band and that album. What really turned it around. Crazy, crazy stuff. And we'll go into the album. We'll talk about each track. And I will tell you about the first time that I put that. And it was the CD. It was the first album. I think that I bought the CD instead of the album first. I did later get the album. But up until that time, I think I was always album. I think that was the first one. Could be wrong, but I think so. And that album clocks in at over an hour. So they needed the CD to get all the music on there. I still think that album plays the best playback, but that CD and, what that was like. And my first remembrances of going to see them live, amazing, in Atlanta, GA. We talked a little bit about that last week. We'll kind of dive in that a little further tonight. So have a great day out there. Lord bless you. And again, Merry Christmas. And I listen, everybody has something going on. I've seen so many people online just saying I hate this holiday, I hate this time frame. Everybody's got something going on. Don't hate on the reason for the season. Don't make it. Don't let the people pressure about money or presents or whatever. Just be thankful that we have a risen Savior, and that's that's the blessing. So, but we appreciate you being here. Lord bless you. We'll see you tonight. Have a great day. Let's get the music going.